help us understand the CBA and also CBD. Then we continue to something else before we wind up.
Okay, so just as we were discussing some few minutes ago, we say that the current system of education is a competency-based education that is composed of the competency-based curriculum, competency-based assessment, and competency-based teacher education. So we have explained what CBC is all about, and I have said that CBC is a body is designed by the KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. It is a body in Kenya that is in charge of coming up with a system or all that learners are supposed to be taken through in the educational circle. And we say there are specifics in the content. So we do not talk about the syllabus, but we are talking about the curriculum design. This curriculum design is part of the development that is done by the KICD. And it is also important to note that this system of education has brought the major stakeholders together. That is the KICD, that is the NEC, which is in CBA, and the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education in matters teacher training. So in CBA, as I said earlier, it's all about evaluating learners using the design that is done by the KICD. Then it assesses what learners are capable of doing and the application in school and outside schools. We said what learners learn in school should help solve problems within the school system and outside the school system. And that is done because, remember, the current life situation, we have a lot of challenges that learners face. And when they face those challenges, then the competencies that they are taught in school are able to make them to survive. And just as I mentioned earlier, we are teaching them about the critical thinking. We are teaching them how to communicate and collaborate. We are teaching them on how to be creative, creativity and innovation. Remember, now we need designers, and if we do not expose them to being innovative, then it means we cannot meet the current demands of our country. Then the CBA now, we've said that once they have gone through the design, they have been taught a lot of things, then we need to assess what the extent of attainment at school level. And therefore now there is where we bring in the Kenya National Examination Council. Now here in testing, we have different testing methodologies. In the past, we could learn from grade 1, and now grade 1 to grade 8, class 1 to class 8 in the old system. Then after learning for 8 years, you are given an assessment in form of examination after 8 years. Remember, it's a bit challenging to master all that you learned you've learned for 8 years, but that one has also changed. In the new system now, learners are assessed periodically. They're assessed as they continue to learn, and that gives us two forms of assessment, major forms of assessment. We have the formative assessment, and then we have the summative assessment. Now when we talk about summative assessment in the CBA, then this is a situation whereby you teach learners some aspect of content in that is from the design, and you teach and assess. You teach and assess. And for standardization, you realize that NEC has come up with a way to do the assessment, the formative assessment. This assessment they do as they continue to learn. One of them is called the SBA, the school-based assessment. The school-based assessment is a standardized assessment that is set by the NEC, but is administered by the schools at the school level. So what NEC does is they do the setting plus the projects, and then they upload these things to the school portal, and then the heads of institutions are able to access the materials and they are able to give the learners. And we have a criteria of scoring, which is the scoring guide, which is also given by by NEC. And in scoring, we have what we call the rubrics. So maybe next time you will understand what we mean by rubrics, and even the grading system. Grading system, we can say, after these learners have been scored, then their performance levels are determined by the teachers. Here is where you will find that some learners will exceed expectations, some learners will approach, some learners will meet, some learners will be below expectation. So that will depend on the mastery of the content in the design. Now, so that is at primary level. So the school-based assessment are school-based assessments are normally given at different grades. At grade 3, learners are enrolled, and that is where they are given the assessment numbers. So when you hear your learners when teachers tell you that I don't have assessment number, no, this learner is in grade 3, and there are some requirements for them to get the assessment number. One of the requirements, which is key, is the birth certificate. So when you are told that teachers are in need of a birth certificate and they are in grade 2 or grade 3, no, that is a very critical point where they are registered and they are given a number which is particular to a child. And that number they will use from grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 as they proceed. So once this number is given, when they reach grade 4 and grade 5, they are subjected to school-based assessment. Remember, that is all about CBA. So this school-based assessment, as I have said, there are some assessment are sent by the NEC through the school portal, and teachers access and subject learners to do under their watch. Once they've done, they now grade learners according to their performance levels. Remember, in the CBE, all learners are winners.
Yes.
We don't want any learner to fail. So learners are graded, and according to how they have performed in their assessment, that is what finally will contribute to their placement in junior school and in senior school and in the world of work. Now, in grade 4, when they have done this the school-based assessment, there is a way NEC does the calculation of grading, and there is a specific percentage. Let me just confirm to you that at grade 4 and grade 5, the assessment that they do is out of 40. So in grade 4, the assessment is 20%. Grade 5, it is 20%. Now, how do we get this 20%? They have done maybe mathematics, okay? And the learner has scored 80% in the school-based assessment from NEC. But it is not going to be taken as 80% because it is a formative assessment. It's an assessment that is still in progress. So NEC compute it out of 20%. So you just say if 100%, if 100% is equal to 20%, that is grade 4. What about the exact score this learner has managed to get from the school-based assessment? So you can work it out and then you get. So you may find that a learner who has scored maybe 50% will end up getting maybe 10%. So it is this 10% that is cumulated with what this learner will again get using the same percentage in grade 5. So if in grade 4 this learner scored 50, which was 16%, and then 60, which is 18%, so it is 15 plus 18 cumulatively. That will be taken as this learner moves to grade 6, where they do what we call the KIPSEA. Okay? Now, KIPSEA is an assessment they do at grade 6. Then, after doing this assessment at grade 6, the assessment they do at grade 6 is out of 60%. And it is called a summative assessment. Remember, the other one I said was a formative assessment. And the one they do, by the end of a grade is a summative assessment. The one we used to do, the only assessment we used to do those days. Now we do class 8. So once they do this summative assessment, which is graded out of 60, remember, where do we get the other 40? The other 40 we have computed out of the grade 4 and grade 5. I believe that one is clear.
Yeah.
Then whatever they get at grade 6, they're now going to junior school. So the total they get from grade 6, when they do the report that they get from school, from KIPSEA, this report, when you look at the back of that report, you'll see the performance levels. And I have said that in primary level, following the framework of education that is now happening, so we have the primaries divided into 2. That is why we are doing actually into 3. Remember, we are doing the school-based assessment grade 4 and grade 5. So grade 3 and grade 5 is treated as lower primary. Okay? Then we have the grade 6, where they at the end of their primary level. Then we go to the junior. So when they go to junior, the percentage that they get at grade 6 is again computed out of 20%. So that 20%, the marks they get in KIPSEA, remember 60 plus the percentage there, the total is computed out of now 20%. So the total that they will get is what will now be taken to grade 7 and grade 8. So in grade 7 and 8, we also compute what they have managed to score out of 20%. It appears a bit technical, but it requires you. Are you following?
Yes, we're following.
Yeah, you need to have some knowledge in mathematics to understand the calculation. So what they get, and remember, in grade 7 and grade 8, they are also doing school-based assessment. And when we talk about school-based assessments, there are exams done, sent, and it is managed by at the school level. But remember, as much as it is managed here, it is a standardized assessment for all learners in Kenya, because once you do it, the marks you get, you send back to NEC.
Yes.
So that it can be computed as the learners move to progress to other levels. And remember, the score this learner gets in grade 4 will contribute to the placement in senior school. I believe you've been seeing how we are moving with the percentages. So it is not like you just sleep and then you wait, and when you are doing grade 6, that is when you put a lot of effort. What you are doing at grade 6 is only out of 60. So the other percentage, if you've not been doing so well in class, then it means you will lose. And it is not a matter of doing so well. It's a matter of the teachers going through the design and teaching all the strands in all the learning areas. When you talk about the strand or the sub-strands, in the past we used to talk about the topic and the subtopic. So all the assessments that are given are in line with the strands and the sub-strands. So you see here, KICD is very important. And again, when we move down, you see now NEC is very important. So when the assessment are not in line with the design, that it means these learners are going to lose at some point. So we've reached grade 7, grade 8. We have computed their marks out of 20. And when it is out of 20 grade 7, 20 grade 8, then at grade 9, where they are again doing the summative, called Kenya Junior School Evaluation Assessment.
KIGSEA.
Yeah, KIGSEA. KIGSEA is again computed out of 60. So you remember we've already gotten 20, and this is 60. Cumulatively, it will give them 100%. So the total marks that they get will now take them to grade 9, grade 10, and grade 11. You see that marks is carried forward as they keep on moving. The marks oh, this one. Okay. So we've reached grade 10 and grade 11, whereby now we have again school-based assessment. And remember, this school-based assessment, they have both the projects that they do and some written work. So once teachers have assessed the learners, they again upload the marks. And the uploading is again done as they move to grade 12. It is again computed. Now grade 10 and grade 11 is not like we did in junior school. Now in grade 10 and grade 11, we are now computing the marks they get in school-based assessment out of 1550. 15. There it was 2020. So 15 plus 15 will give us 30.
So allow me to ask this.
Yes.
With 10 and 11, that
Yes.
is the senior.
That is senior school now.
Okay.
So when they go to senior, remember when they are in junior school, we are computing marks out of 2020. That is the school-based assessment 2020. Then cumulatively the summative assessment they do out of 60, and that gives the total percentage. Then when they go to senior school, now we are computing the school-based assessment in grade 10 and 11 out of 1550, and cumulatively that will be 30%. And that means the summative assessment, which we call the KCBE, Kenya Certificate of Basic Education. It is not KCSE. You know, we have been talking about now KCSE, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. But this one now we are talking about Kenya Certificate of Basic Education, which they attain at grade 12. Is if the other one was 15-15, then the summative 15-15 is formative. Yes. Then the summative that they will do will now be out of 70, and that cumulatively will add up to 100%. So that is how the calculation is done in the CBA.
No.
Yes.
On that note, you if I did get you well, you talked
Yes.
about placement.
Yes.
To senior secondary school.
Yes.
How is this done?
Now there is a criteria, and that is why I told you the CBE system of education has stakeholders, major stakeholders, and we talked about the KICD, which is the CBE. I believe now when I simplify and say that CBC is KICD, you now understand.
Yes, yes.
So when you talk about CBC, don't say that my learner is a CBC learner. Then it means you'll be talking about something you do not understand. I believe I've explained a bit of what CBC is all about. It's all about the design and what is supposed to be taught in the design. Then when we talk about the CBA, and when I say it is now NEC, you understand why I'm calling it NEC.
Yeah,
it's all about evaluation.
Yeah.
You talk about the performance level, so when you talk about meeting expectation, you know the level at which you are talking about.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear a parent talk about my learner has exceeding expectation in English, then you know that is assessment and it is NEC.
Yes.
Okay? When you say my learner has scored 50 and she has been given approaching expectation, you know that is a criteria of placing, of giving learners the performance levels, and that is done by the NEC.
Yeah.
And at primary, we've said performance levels are only 4. Either a learner can exceed, meet, approach, or can be below expectation, and that will depend on the strands from the KICD.
The strands are the topics.
The strands are the topics, and the sub-strands are the subtopics. So that is done. So your question was
Placement.
placement.
Yeah, because once you are done with the junior.
Once you are done with the
like
junior,
right now
yes,
we are going to sit.
senior school,
The first lot is going to sit for the Kijisea.
Kijisea.
And how are they going to
What is now happening?
Yes.
Placement depends on certain conditions. Number one, when we are choosing pathways, maybe we have the STEM, we have the social sciences and the sports and others. So the 3 pathways that learners will be placed on will depend on how a learner has been performing in the CBA. That is number one. So you will not be taken to do a STEM. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related subjects. You cannot be given the STEM. You cannot take STEM subjects when you have been performing dismally in mathematics.
Now, that brings me to another question that I want us to understand.
Yes.
You hear most parents, maybe a parent wants the child
to do engineering, medicine.
Engineering.
Yes.
And only to realize the child has been placed
in sports and social sciences.
How are you going to come up with a formula of helping parents understand that this is why we do this? this is what is right for this child.
So what need to be done? Teachers and parents should know what is happening, and that is why I'm here. They need to know that a learner who is yearning or is longing to do engineering related subjects must develop from the foundation. Because remember, mathematics is a compulsory combination in taking the pathways. So they must do well in mathematics. So teachers must do their part. And it's not just doing their part. It is teaching the strands in the curriculum, curriculum design. Because whatever will come that will make them to score better in mathematics will all come from the curriculum design. So they must teach all those strands. So when you hear that, I have always talked to teachers, and this is what I tell them, that they need to be very serious with the assessment books. Assessment books. You hear your learners are told to carry assessment books. This is what I don't always like, and I always tell teachers when they want their learners to do dismally in performance, then they need to take the assessment books and sit somewhere by the end of the term and award ticks. You know, you get your learner is just, you see ticks, you see ticks, a lot of ticks, and then they are told exceeding. Some you see exceeding below. That below will affect their placement. And when you tick, it means a learner has understood the substance that you have ticked. So when you want to know that your child is doing well in school, just take the assessment book and do random sampling. You can gauge that your learner is doing well in school just by taking the assessment book that the teacher has taken, and then give them some tasks related to the ticks that have been given. Because it is, if you look at that assessment book, it has all the learning areas and it has all the strands that these learners are supposed to be taken through by the teacher. So to just gauge that your child is not doing well and may end up being placed wrongly when it comes to taking pathways, you can simply assess your learner using, or your child using, the assessment book. Take that book and ask your child to perform a task in maybe randomly random questions from the assessment book. Assessment book has all the strands from the curriculum design that learners at every given grade should be taken through, and it is the strands and the substance, as we've said, that NEC assesses in the summative and in the formative evaluations. So one of the things that we will look at is the performance of your child. Number 2 is the interest of the child, and how will NEC know the interest of the child in assessment? You know, NEC at times will come up with some questionnaires. You know, questionnaires are just designed questions, and to find more about what a child, because we've said performance and interest of the child. A child will say, I want to be a musician. So that is his or her interest. So what NEC does, questionnaire will be brought and the learner is asked, what do you like doing when you are free? And this learner will automatically say, I like playing football. So don't you see, we've already seen the pathway that this learner would want to take. So we should not force this child to go and do engineering when the child is interested in football. Football is sports and social sciences.
No. With that, with the sample of questions or questionnaires.
Yes.
Now, at this point,
yes,
we have students or pupils
in
who
schools
are going to sit for PGCEA.
Yes.
Have they received something?
They are currently being registered for that KISEA, and what the teachers are now doing, probably if you have your child in grade 9, that is the third thing that I was coming to, and parents need to know that teachers will not sit the way we used to do during our time. You sit and you look at the child and you say, this one should go to Alliance, this one should go to Mango, and the rest. So the performance of the child will be considered. Another one, interest of the child will be considered. Number 3, parent must be involved in helping the child to take the pathway. So a parent must be consulted. So when you look now, you'll find teachers have designed some sheet where learners are required to fill you must be called and you also must give out your opinion. So those three are very key. Plus the questionnaire that NEC will use to do it is parent or guardian, plus that questionnaire. And questionnaire will be done through the guidance of the teacher and the parent and the child. That will help in the placement. So they will be told how to pick, just like we used to pick schools previously. The schools have been categorized, and we have always sent to schools, like I have sent to so many schools, the guidelines on picking subjects. They're supposed to take 12 total subjects, and there is how the categorization has been done. Remember, we do not have national schools, extra county schools, and the rest. We have the schools have also been categorized. We have schools that will be taking the double pathway, that is the STEM and maybe sports and social sciences, and so double, single pathways, and some will be taking the triple, double, and single pathways. So that one is also important. So as they pick the pathways, they will now be choosing. Now they choose, but placement will depend on those factors that we have said.
Now, help me understand.
Yes.
How are you able? How is the Minister of Education, if I may ask,
yes,
able to gauge and know that this teacher, this particular school,
yes,
this particular learning institution
is supposed to be triple pathway,
yes,
and double or single.
Yes,
that will.
We have one, like for example, Nyangubo Girls,
yes,
very close to us.
Yes.
We have Township, we have
Ruba and the rest.
So how will we be able to know that this one, let us give them triple, this single, this?
Assessment was done some 4 months ago in all learning institutions in Kenya. All the learning institutions in Kenya were reassessed, and that is what brought the new categorization of schools. Like when you look inly, you realize that Rapogi has been given a different categorization compared to what it used to have. Yeah, I think now they are allowed to offer the triple pathway, Kanga and the rest. There are schools that have been now upgraded, because we are taking out sub-county, county, and the rest, and we are replacing them with the double, the single, the triple pathways. And that has already been done. It was done some 5 months ago. And that is now why learners are now going through picking of schools. And these schools have again been given different coding. Remember those years we used to have C1, C2, C like that. So that has also changed, and they are given special coding to know that this code is for a triple pathway. And that one I may later share with you people, so that you can also keep telling parents that this one is a triple pathway. The schools around here, they need to know that when I take my child to Nyangubo St. Celestino, it is a double pathway, or it is a triple pathway, or it is a single pathway. Then in these particular schools, there is also something that has been introduced, that we will have schools that will only be accommodating single gender schools. Single gender, now we have we've been calling them the boys' school and the girls' schools. Then we will have single gender, where learners will be staying in school as a boarding school, but there will be also in the same school the scholars, something that is not happening now. That Rapogi is a single gender school, but is hybrid kind of, where some learners stay in school, but some learners are given freedom to operate from home, but they still get the facilities. Remember, the concern here is, I talked about in changing in categorization, we look at how school is equipped.
Now, allow me to ask this. If that is one of the ways you want to go by, the Ministry of Education
that is what is happening now.
Your child has picked a pathway.
Yes.
And bad luck or good luck
has not been picked.
He is picked in Alliance.
Yes.
You are from Migori.
Yes.
And there's a leeway. The child is maybe taking a path whereby he can operate from home.
Yes.
How are you going to do
what the ministry has done is very flexible. That if you have picked a school and your child is not able to, and this child has been accepted in that school, but you feel you do not want your child to go to that school, there is freedom of changing, but the change will be done depending on the pathway that this learner had picked and has been selected in. So if there is another school within your vicinity with the same categorization level that this learner, and there are vacancies in that school, remember, availability of vacancy is also a factor that is considered apart from the three that I said. If that chance is available within your vicinity, then this learner is allowed to go to that school, and not necessarily to a very far away school, and be a day scholar and just get the services. It's a very good system of education that we really need to embrace.
Maybe I'm having a lot of questions.
Yes,
just allow me to ask this.
Yes.
Now, there is what Noose called curriculum activities.
Yes.
That's things like sports,
yes,
music, and
yes,
all that, drama.
Yes.
Now, does it mean that there are some learning institutions that will not be able to perform in such activities?
That is automatically correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because you see, when there is when you find that there is a school that does not have the facilities that are required for the sciences, the sports and arts, then it means during the evaluation of the schools by the Ministry of Education, such factors were looked into, and a school that cannot offer sports cannot be given categorization to offer sports. Yes, because we realize that some schools do not have all the facilities that are required.
Yeah.
So that will be to the disadvantage of the child.
No.
Unless in some cases, when you find they have facilities within their vicinity, then that pathway they can be allowed to offer.
Now, do you think in a way it is going to affect the learners because they are used in this sports time? Every school has to participate, but now we are doing sports, our school is not doing anything with sports, sit back.
You know what, for a long period of time we have perceived sports to be, we have always looked at sports as playing football and volleyball and athletics. But sports is very wide. It includes other things that the table tennis and the rest that we are not doing.
Like I saw in the news, it was on Monday.
Yes.
No, the day before yesterday. I think it was on a Monday.
Yes.
About Scrabble.
The Scrabble.
The Scrabble.
Yes. That is part of sports. That is purely sports. So you see, to some extent you may find that all schools will get the leeway to do sports, because sports is not only about football. There are some activities that they can do. The indoor activities, table tennis, the badminton and all that they can, pool table, which they can still do and perform very well in school. So generally, sports is very crucial, and I believe in all the pathways these learners will be exposed to some kind of sport, not necessarily football and volleyball and maybe athletics. Yes.
Okay. I want us to summarize this.
Yes, there is something that we also need I need to talk about. We said that there are three components. We've talked about the NEC, we've talked about the KICD, then the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission. What is their role in the CBE? Because CBE also captures the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education. I talked about the competency-based teacher education. So here is whereby the teachers are also trained, and the training is normally done by the Ministry and the Teacher Service Commission through retooling. When you hear teachers talk about we are going for retooling, it means it's a way of sharpening their skills. Yeah. You know, you come out from the university, what you learned at the university. Remember, teachers who trained at the university now are in junior schools, and they are in an environment they never expected. So when they come to such environments, a lot of training is done. One of the training is on the pedagogical content. The content that they learned at the university, they are again taught to be in line with what is actually happening in school as per the requirement of the curriculum design. So that retooling is done and is very, very important to the teachers. Another training that is done is on something that we call the TMEC. TMEC is a program that has been designed by the Teacher Service Commission, and it is really helping the teacher mentorship, induction and mentorship program. Now, why must a teacher be inducted or be mentored? Remember now, they are in primary school. Psychologically, these teachers are affected. So they need to be made to understand that they are at the right place. Then, remember, they are coming from the university, and at the university, they are not told anything about the rules to obey in teaching. You know, at the university, you can get students just walking, holding their hands, because they are staying alone. They really need to be together, and that can be extended when they meet students in junior school and in high school, especially the young teachers. They still look at these young students as people they can mingle around with. So Teacher Service Commission has the code of regulation for teachers that is guiding the conduct of teachers. So they must again be taught that when you come here and you are now employed by the Teacher Service Commission, and employment, a teacher cannot teach in any school without registration. So once you are given the license to be a teacher, there are specific conditions that you must meet as a teacher. And when they come from universities, these conditions they do not know. One of them, issues of a female student engaging with a female teacher engaging with a female student is not allowed, and it is in the code. So they are told here, when you come, now this kind of affair is not allowed. That is in the induction. Then they are told, this is now, you are going to work under the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education. This is the requirement of the Teacher Service Commission. This is the requirement for the Ministry of Education. When you come to work, it is not like you can sleep in your house and you report at any time. Here, the reporting time is this one. When you report, you cannot go to class without professional documents. You see that those requirements.
Yeah.
And your standard of discipline must be this level. This is how you are supposed to dress. You know, you remember the way they dress at the university.
Yeah.
I don't say all students dress poorly, but you can imagine how they dress at the university. Now, when you come here, through the competency-based teacher education, they are taken through the dress code. That when you are a teacher, this is the specific way we want you to dress. Okay? Then apart from that one, teachers have a lot of challenges. And remember, that is due to the dynamics in schools. There are teachers who come from the university when they are already addicted to drugs. Okay? Then when they come, remember the way they were taught on how to prepare the professional documents using the old method of preparing them is different from how they are supposed to prepare them here. So that one we do during the retooling. Then once the documents have been prepared, in mentorship, when we have experts, we have teachers who have been doing it for long, and we have teachers who are still new. The ones who are new, we do induction to them. Inducting someone means, like when I came here, you know, you showed me where to say it, yeah? You told me this is how you need to talk when you are here. This is how we behave when we're here. You are inducting me, yeah? Yeah. But now, when you now mentor me, you now sharpen my skills. I have known how it is supposed to be done, but I may not be very perfect in the way it is supposed to be done. So the one who is best in doing it will now be my mentor. So I will be copying a lot of things that you do. If it is dress code, I will copy the way you do it. If it is the way you conduct your lessons, how you introduce, how you develop, how you conclude, how you assess. Remember we said we have continuous assessment? How you assess after teaching. I copy from my mentor. Then, the one who is copying from the one who is more experienced now become a mentee. You see how that one is done? It's a program again that is done on this matter of training of the teachers. So it's a lot, and that is majorly done to bridge the gap that is in the system of this education that we are currently embracing.
I see my co-host has been really absorbing a lot. I don't know whether you have a
I don't know whether he's absorbing or he's not understanding. Eh?
I've understood a lot. You know, in fact, you've made me to understand. You know, when we were in the university, I used to hear those who were taking education speaking about work plan,
Yes,
lesson
yes,
plan.
yes.
There's one lesson plan. Then there's one. I don't remember.
The schemes of work.
The schemes of work,
Yeah.
something like that.
We have others individualized education programs. Yeah.
So I'm made to understand that they no longer use that. Now the
They are using it, but the format
The format is
has been adjusted. Eh? The format that you learned at the university, whereby you just do your teaching and you say, well taught, done. Those ones are no longer done. We want you to exactly say, how well was it done?
Oh, okay.
So you can maybe say that this lesson I have taught, I have achieved my objective. But there are learners who did not understand, because you want everybody to be at par. So these ones who have not understood, maybe they are time takers or slow learners, what will you do to also help them to understand? You see, this kind of arrangement, it has never been there in the education system for long. You teach, remember during our time, some teachers would say, oh, John, are you there? Moses, are you there? Have you understood? Then everybody has understood. To him, when his best students have understood.
I remember my maths teacher in high school, Mr. Gonji. That's what he used to do.
Yeah.
You know, some of us were not understanding mathematics, like me.
Yeah.
I was dwarf in mathematics.
Yes.
So he would say, maybe I cannot force a cow to drink water. I have had a few
Who have understood.
Yeah, so he would go around to the specific people.
Yes. So that
and then
one,
say, let's continue.
let's continue.
Yeah.
So that one now is has changed. We want a situation whereby your learners who have not understood, you come up with individualized education program. Under this individualized education program, you identify the strands you feel your students have not understood. Then you come up with a timeline on how you want to assist them to understand the concepts. Then the strands and the substance and the timeline. Okay? And maybe if you need resources, you really need to come up with the resources you need to help them to understand.
Okay.
And then again, we are running away from something that we used to do. Homework.
Okay.
Homework. You are given 100 questions, and the 100 questions you are expected to do within a night, and you bring back. And then you engage.
There's this issue of
Remedials, yes.
Is it applicable in the Ministry of Education?
Remedial is very tricky. That is why we are coming up with individualized education programs, whereby you identify, you teach according to need. You don't just give remedial. You know, during our time, remedial would be given even to those who understood.
Yeah.
So that one is not necessary now. You only...
This remedial fee that students...
That is illegal.
Yeah.
That is illegal. That is very illegal. It is not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the levies the government even recently said that schools charging extra levies will be, some action will be taken against them. It is not allowed. And I know there are schools still charging remedial, but you know they are charging it when they know very well it is illegal. And it is documented. Documented according to the Teacher Service Commission. They say when you want to do extra teaching, you do it but not at a cost. According to Ministry of Education, it is clear that remedial fee is illegal. Yeah. So, but when you do something like, you know, our work is to tell you the right thing. But doing the right thing is an individual issue. So when you don't do what you've been told to do the right way,
it now boils back to you.
Yeah.
Now, having understood all this, I've been listening, carefully listening.
Yes.
And realized that at the end of the day, it requires a lot of
Resources. Yes.
Like there's a school assessment.
The assessment,
there's
yeah.
the KIGSEA, there's the CAPSEA, it's all this and all this involvement, teacher and all this. These things require
A lot of resources.
Especially funding. And recently we did see from the budget, it is kind of like the teachers
There's a gap.
to education to some
Yes.
extent was kind of sliced.
Now,
Do you think the junior secondary school,
we have a lot of challenge when it comes to doing the assessment. That one I can concur with the teachers. Teachers are really feeling the pinch. And not only teachers, but even the parents. The cost of doing assessment is not easy. And therefore, by the way, that is one of the research I have done in some part of Kenya, and I have realized that funding is very good in my findings. But again, when learners are not adequately funded, it will affect the management of schools seriously. And maybe when we look keenly what is causing the variation in funding, I'm sorry to say that the ministry does not know the number of learners in schools.
But the other time when I attended a coronation, let me not call it a coronation, but a homecoming ceremony for the deputy Kepsha in
Yeah,
Nyamome.
Nyamome.
Were you there?
Madam, I was not there. I was far away from Igor.
The deputy chair, Mr. I think he teaches in Awendo.
Yes.
I've forgotten the name. He told us that the problem is that the government does not have the correct number, the correctest data of student learning in institutions. And so they are working on how to give the government the correct data.
Now, let me tell you what is happening as a researcher. And this one I stand to be corrected even by the nation. What happens is that in schools, there is the challenge that is generated by the school administrators. You keep so many learners in school, and some of the learners do not have even birth certificate. And you know, the government pays using the NEMIS. The NEMIS is the number of learners registered in
that school.
In the school system. There is a system given by the Ministry of Education whereby you are supposed to register all the learners in grade 1, grade 2 up to the last grade, and the registration requires a birth certificate. When I did some sampling, maybe you can do it in our schools. You know, you can help the government. Do just sampling, start from Oruba, go to schools in Awendo, go to Rongo. You are allowed to, once you've identified yourself, you compare the number of learners registered in the NEMIS portal plus the number of actual learners in school. So you may find in grade 5, learners registered in the portal, which the government uses to send funding, maybe are 50. But the actual learners in that school could be 80. So in this when 50 learners are funded against 80 learners, and the money that comes is supposed to benefit all these learners, do you think that money will be adequate? It won't be adequate. And then another problem that I talked about, learners from other countries enjoying our resources at the expense of our country. Remember, and this we can also blame some of our leaders, because how do you register Tanzania? How do you give a Tanzanian a birth certificate? Because the moment you give them a birth certificate, these learners will go through the education system. They will be funded by the Ministry of Education. When they are done with their training, they will go back to their home countries. Then another one, I don't know what the government can do about this. We have ghost schools. We have the ghost schools in Kenya. You remember a case in, maybe, was it in Baringo? Was it in Baringo? In Nyamira. where the gates to specific schools was very nicely designed, but there were no actual schools. Remember, those schools are also funded by the government. Then there is a problem with the Ministry of Education system, the one in managing the IT department, whereby you register your learners today. Today you register, you have 200 learners in a class or in a grade. When you check next time, you get there only 10. So during funding, the government does funding with the number of learners in the system. So I don't know whether they delete, and that could be due to the cartels, and maybe that can be something that we can research about.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave. We are very grateful that you have made it. You have helped to shed light on so many things that has really affected the education system, and you've also made us understand how the transition is going to be there in education, that is from primary level to the high school level and to the university. We are so much grateful for your time. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming for the vibrant morning. We will, at any time you are in Migori, please be assured you'll always be here to share with us. Now, I'm just wrapping up my side, then I'll give you say a word, then Lennox Odede will wind it up for us today. Thank you so much, my dear viewers. Keep following us on YouTube, that is BTV Kenya. Please remember to leave a comment, because we want to know where we are reaching you from, and your comments are very vital. Subscribe. You can also visit us on Facebook page, that is Blackman TV. The same note, TikTok, we are live there, and also on Instagram, BTV Kenya. Let me give you to say your last words in a minute, then Lennox, my co-host, will wind up the show.
What I can say as we wind up, Kenya is for us all. It's our responsibility to develop it. Let us try to avoid things that can destroy Kenya. Let us be concerned about developing our colleagues, and particularly in education, let us ensure that all children are in school, and let us help in whatever capacity that we can to assist our children to be in school and to learn, because we normally say they're the future leaders.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope the camera is looking at Mr. Lennox Odede, because he's winding it for us. Mr. Lennox,
Yes.
your last word, wind up the show.
It has been one of the best shows we've ever had in Vibrant Morning. You know, I've got to learn a lot of things, and I think we are yet to learn. And we will have a specialist and a researcher more. And I love that word, researcher. It means that anything he's telling us and telling the public.
You think loudly.
So let's meet tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. God bless you, Mr. Lennox. Thank you so much. We have to crisscross the hands in front of the guests. It's worth it.
Okay.